Imagine this. You're in your 40s, working hard, maybe raising a family, and you feel like you're doing everything right with your money. But then you look at your bank account, and it's not where you want it to be. You might be thinking, what am I doing wrong? Hi, I'm James, and welcome back to Midlife Wealth Journey, where we help people just like you build a secure financial future in their 40s and beyond. Today, we're diving into the 5 most common money mistakes people make in their 40s. And trust me, these are mistakes that can quietly derail your financial dreams if you're not careful. I'll share real stories from people who've been there, break down why these mistakes happen, and most importantly, give you practical fixes you can start using today. Whether you're just starting your wealth journey or you've been at it for a while, this video is for you. Let's get started. Mistake 1. Ignoring retirement savings. Let's kick things off with the first big mistake. Ignoring retirement savings. This is a huge one, because your 40s are a critical time to start preparing for retirement. If you're not saving for the future, you're missing out on one of the most powerful tools for building wealth: time. The earlier you start, the more your money can grow through compound interest. But if you're in your 40s and haven't started saving for retirement, don't panic. It's not too late. Here's why this mistake happens. A lot of people in their 40s are focused on the present. You might be paying for your kids' activities, covering a mortgage, or dealing with unexpected expenses like car repairs. Retirement can feel so far away that it's easy to put off. But the reality is, the longer you wait, the harder it gets to catch up. For example, if you start saving $5,000 a year at age 40 and earn an 8% return, you could have over $400,000 by the time you're 65. But if you wait until 50 to start saving the same amount, you'd only have about $150,000 by 65. That's a massive difference, just because you delayed for 10 years. Let me tell you about John, a 45-year-old I know who made this mistake. John was a marketing manager, earning a decent salary, but he never thought about retirement. He figured he'd have plenty of time to save later, so he spent most of his income on family vacations, a nice car, and keeping up with his friends' lifestyle. By the time he turned 45, he had almost nothing saved for retirement. One day, he sat down with a financial calculator and realized that if he didn't start saving now, he'd have to work well into his 70s to afford the lifestyle he wanted. That was a wake-up call. John decided to take action. He started by contributing to his employer's retirement plan, which offered a small matching contribution. He set up an automatic deduction of $300 a month from his paycheck, about 5% of his income. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was a start. He also opened an individual retirement account and put in an extra $200 a month. Over the next few years, he increased his contributions as his income grew. Now, at 50, John has over $50,000 saved for retirement, and he's on track to have a comfortable nest egg by the time he retires. The fix for this mistake is simple. Start saving for retirement today, even if it's a small amount. If your employer offers a retirement plan like a 401k, sign up and contribute at least enough to get any matching contribution. It's like free money. If you don't have access to a workplace plan, open an individual retirement account. You can start with as little as $50 a month. The key is to make it automatic, so you're not tempted to spend that money elsewhere. Time is still on your side in your 40s. Don't let it slip away. Mistake 2. Overspending on lifestyle. The second mistake is overspending on your lifestyle. In your 40s, you might be earning more than ever before, and it's tempting to upgrade your life to match your income. Maybe you're buying a bigger house, a nicer car, or taking expensive vacations to keep up with your friends. There's nothing wrong with enjoying your hard-earned money, but if you're spending more than you can afford, you're setting yourself up for financial stress down the road. This mistake often happens because of social pressure. You see your peers living a certain way, posting photos of their new SUV or their beach house on social media, and you feel like you need to keep up. But what you don't see is the debt they might be racking up to maintain that lifestyle. Overspending can eat into your ability to save, invest, or pay off debt, leaving you with little to show for your hard work. Take Lisa, a 43-year-old teacher I met a few years ago. Lisa and her husband were earning a combined $120,000 a year, but they were always broke. They had upgraded to a bigger house they could barely afford, bought 2 new cars, and were spending $500 a month on dining out and entertainment. They told themselves they deserved it after years of hard work, but they were living paycheck to paycheck. When Lisa's car broke down unexpectedly, they had to put the $2,000 repair bill on a credit card because they had no savings. That was the moment Lisa realized they were overspending on their lifestyle at the expense of their financial security. Lisa and her husband decided to make a change. They sat down and created a budget for the first time. They used the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of their income for needs like housing and groceries, 30% for wants like dining out, and 20% for savings and debt repayment. They realized they were spending way too much on wants, closer to 50% of their income. They cut back on dining out, switched to more affordable family activities like hiking and movie nights at home, and sold one of their cars to downsize to a more practical vehicle. That freed up $700 a month, which they split between savings and paying off their credit card debt. Within a year, they had a small emergency fund and were feeling much more in control of their finances. The fix here is to get honest about your spending. Track your expenses for 1 month. I promise it's eye-opening. Look at where your money is going and ask yourself, are these purchases bringing me real happiness, or am I just trying to keep up with others? Then, create a budget that prioritizes your financial goals. If you're not sure where to start, try the 50-30-20 rule. It's a simple way to balance enjoying your money now with securing your future. You don't have to give up everything you love. Just be intentional about what you spend on. Mistake 3. Not having an emergency fund. The third mistake is not having an emergency fund. Life is unpredictable, especially in your 40s. You might face a sudden job loss, a medical bill, or a home repair that you didn't see coming. Without an emergency fund, you're forced to rely on credit cards or loans to cover those expenses, which can lead to a cycle of debt that's hard to break. Many people skip building an emergency fund because they think they can't afford to save. They're focused on paying bills, covering kids' expenses, or paying off debt, so saving for what-if scenarios feels like a luxury they can't afford. But the truth is, not having an emergency fund is a risk you can't afford to take. Unexpected expenses aren't a matter of if, they're a matter of when. Let me tell you about Maria, a 41-year-old single mom who learned this lesson the hard way. Maria was a nurse, earning a steady income, but she had no savings. She was putting all her extra money toward her student loans, thinking she'd build an emergency fund later. Then, her furnace broke down in the middle of winter, and the repair cost $3,000. Maria didn't have the cash, so she put it on a credit card with a 20% interest rate. It took her 2 years to pay off that $3,000, and by then, she'd paid an extra $600 in interest. That experience made her realize how important it was to have a safety net. Maria started small. She set a goal to save $1,000 as a starter emergency fund. She cut back on small expenses, like canceling a few subscriptions she rarely used, and saved $50 a month. It took her about a year to reach $1,000, but that gave her peace of mind. Over the next few years, she kept adding to her emergency fund, aiming for 3 months' worth of expenses, about $9,000 for her. Now, when unexpected expenses come up, Maria can handle them without going into debt. The fix for this mistake is to start building an emergency fund, even if it's just a little at a time. Aim for $1,000 as a starting point. That's enough to cover most small emergencies, like a car repair or a medical bill. Once you hit that goal, work towards saving 3 to 6 months' worth of expenses. For example, if your monthly expenses are $3,000, aim for $9,000 to $18,000. It might sound like a lot, but you don't have to get there overnight. Save what you can each month, and put that money in a separate, easy-to-access account, like a high-yield savings account. Having that safety net will give you peace of mind and keep you out of debt when life throws you a curveball. Mistake 4. Ignoring high-interest debt. The fourth mistake is ignoring high-interest debt. In your 40s, you might have a mix of debts, maybe a mortgage, a car loan, or credit card debt. Not all debt is bad, but high-interest debt, like credit cards with rates of 15% or more, can be a silent wealth killer. If you're only making minimum payments, you're paying way more in interest than you need to, and it can take years, or even decades, to pay off. This mistake often happens because high-interest debt can feel overwhelming. You might have a $10,000 credit card balance, and the minimum payment is only $200 a month, so you stick to that because it's manageable. But that minimum payment mostly covers interest, not the principal, so your balance barely budges. Meanwhile, that interest keeps piling up, eating away at your ability to save or invest. Here's an example to show you how this works. Let's say you have a $5,000 credit card balance with a 20% interest rate. If you only pay the minimum, say $150 a month, it'll take you over 10 years to pay it off, and you'll end up paying more than $3,000 in interest. That's $3,000 you could have used to save for retirement, take a family vacation, or invest for your future. I know someone named Tom, a 46-year-old graphic designer, who fell into this trap. Tom had $12,000 in credit card debt from years of overspending. He was making minimum payments, but his balance wasn't going down, and the interest charges were stressing him out. Finally, he decided to get serious. He used a strategy called the avalanche method, where you focus on the debt with the highest interest rate first. Tom listed all his credit cards, picked the one with a 22% rate, and put every extra dollar toward it while making minimum payments on the others. He picked up a side hustle, designing logos on weekends, to bring in an extra $300 a month, which he used to pay down his debt faster. It took him 2 years, but he paid off all $12,000, and the relief he felt was incredible. Now, he's using that $300 a month to build his savings instead of paying interest to a credit card company. The fix for this mistake is to tackle high-interest debt as a priority. Start by listing all your debts and their interest rates. Focus on the one with the highest rate first. That's usually a credit card. Pay as much as you can toward it each month while making minimum payments on your other debts. If you can, find extra money to speed things up. Maybe cut back on dining out or pick up a small side hustle. Once that high-interest debt is gone, roll the money you were paying toward it into the next debt on your list. Getting rid of high-interest debt frees up your income so you can start building wealth instead of just treading water. Mistake 5. Not investing for growth. The fifth and final mistake is not investing for growth. In your 40s, you might have some savings, but if that money is just sitting in a regular savings account earning 1% or less, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. Investing is one of the best ways to grow your money over time, especially for long-term goals like retirement. A lot of people avoid investing because it feels risky or complicated. Maybe you're worried about losing money in the stock market, or you think you need to be an expert to get started. But the truth is, you don't have to take big risks to see growth. There are simple, low-cost ways to invest that can help your money grow steadily over time. For example, let's say you have $10,000 sitting in a savings account earning 1% interest. After 20 years, that $10,000 would grow to about $12,200. Not much, especially when you factor in inflation. Now, if you invested that same $10,000 in a diversified index fund that tracks the stock market and earns an average return of 8%, it would grow to about $46,600 in 20 years. That's almost 4 times as much, just because you invested instead of letting your money sit. I want to share a story about Sarah, a 44-year-old accountant who made this mistake for years. Sarah had $15,000 in a savings account because she was too nervous to invest. She'd heard stories about people losing money in the stock market, so she thought keeping her money in a savings account was the safe choice. But then she learned about index funds, investments that let you buy a small piece of hundreds of companies at once, spreading out your risk. Sarah decided to take a chance. She invested her $15,000 in an index fund that tracked the stock market. She also started adding $200 a month to her investments. Over the next 5 years, her portfolio grew to $25,000, even with some market ups and downs. Sarah realized that investing wasn't as scary as she thought, and she wished she'd started sooner. The fix for this mistake is to start investing, even if it's a small amount. You don't need to be a stock market expert to get started. Look into index funds or exchange-traded funds. They're affordable, diversified, and a great way to grow your money over time. You can start with as little as $100 through most investment apps. If you're nervous, talk to a financial advisor or do some research to build your confidence. The key is to start now and stay consistent. Your 40s are the perfect time to let your money work for you. Bonus tip: don't be afraid to get help. Before we wrap up, I want to share a bonus tip. Don't be afraid to get help. Managing money in your 40s can feel overwhelming. Between budgeting, saving, investing, and paying off debt, there's a lot to juggle. If you're feeling stuck, consider working with a financial advisor. They can help you create a personalized plan, avoid costly mistakes, and stay on track with your goals. Even a 1-hour consultation can make a big difference. For example, a friend of mine named Mike met with an advisor at 42, and they helped him set up a retirement plan, refinance his mortgage to a lower rate, and start investing in a way that matched his risk tolerance. That one meeting saved him thousands of dollars and gave him clarity about his financial future. If a financial advisor isn't in your budget, look for free resources. There are plenty of blogs, podcasts, and YouTube channels like ours that can guide you. The important thing is to take action and not let fear or overwhelm hold you back. So, there you have it. The 5 most common money mistakes people make in their 40s. Ignoring retirement savings, overspending on lifestyle, not having an emergency fund, ignoring high-interest debt, and not investing for growth. These mistakes can hold you back from building the wealth you deserve. But the good news is, you can fix them starting today. I want to hear from you. Which of these mistakes are you making? And what's one step you're going to take to turn things around? Maybe you'll start saving for retirement, create a budget, or tackle that high-interest debt. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story and cheer you on. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We're going to be sharing my midlife money story and how I got started on this journey, so you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.